What's up, YouTube? Dan the Pokemon here. In preparation of the upcoming Pokemon Presents and the potential info on the upcoming Legends ZA game, I thought, what better way to prepare than to give my takes on the different generations of Pokemon, along with some of the noteworthy spin-off or complementary games. I want to take this chance to talk about every generation of Pokemon, my preferred picks for the generation, some of the version exclusives, features, and new capabilities, and more. So let's dive in to see what Pokemon had in store for us. I'm not going to talk much about the anime, as this video will focus more on the games, although I will mention certain events that correlate to the anime. Also, I will mainly be focusing on mainline games with mentions of the spin-offs with how they relate to the core games. Obviously, up first is Generation 1. Kanto, the original 151 Pokemon. So many kids got their start here, and this generation had a whopping 4 games, each with differences and tweaks. Obviously, everyone knows that this gen has red, blue, green, and yellow. Green was a Japanese exclusive as the original release of red and green, followed by an updated and partially fixed version in blue, which the American release copied as the base for red and blue here. Yellow is sort of a stand-in for fans of the anime, which we'll get into later. Some say this was when Pokemon was at its most pure. There's no breeding, so what you get is mostly what you get. No day-night cycles, no running shoes, no held items, and some other weird quirks. The most notable thing of this generation is the original setup of some of the type chart. There are only 15 types, with the missing ones being Steel, Dark, and of course, Fairy. However, there are some other weird quirks. For example, Bug types are weak to Poison, something that seems weird to us older players, since it seems like a fair amount of bug types are either poison types as well, or they at least learn a lot of poison moves. Due to a bug, psychic types are immune to ghost types, meaning that any Pokemon with the psychic type is basically a god, as the sole weakness in bug attacks means that there's a very limited number of moves that will do super effective damage to psychics. Besides the split Nidoran lines, Pokemon don't have genders, and the move pool is pretty limited for many Mons, meaning TMs are much more of a necessity due to the viability. I should also mention that prior to Gen 2, there was no difference in special attack and special defense, as in Generation 1, it's just the special stat. So moves are like Amnesia are doubly broken for increasing what would be 2 stats nowadays. And I should mention this here, that prior to Generation 4, Pokemon moves were divided into physical or special based on the type of move used, not like today where each individual move is either physical or special. This means that certain Pokemon for this gen and the following 2 are either really good or extremely hindered, as their typing can break them for using moves due to all moves of the types being physical or special. Until Generation 4, the moves of the physical type are Normal, Fighting, Flying, Poison, Ground, Rock, Bug, Ghost, and in Gen 2 onwards, Steel. While the following types are always use the special attack stat: Fire, Water, Grass, Electric, Psychic, Ice, Dragon, and from Gen 2 onwards, Dark. As a result of this, Most of the starter Pokemon for the first 3 gens are mixed attackers, due to their type being a special option while gaining coverage and mostly normal attacks being physical. As a result of this, there are some very weird quirks, like a lot of normal types with high attack running Hyper Beam, as this move is physical, and has a quirk where if you KO the opposing Pokemon, the move doesn't need a recharge turn. Other weird examples are Pokemon such as Kingler, who has a huge attack stat, but doesn't normally run water-type attacks as they use its far inferior special stat. As for the Pokemon distribution, first let's take a look at the version exclusives. Red gets the Ekans line, the Oddish line, the Mankey line, the Growlithe line, Scyther, and Electabuzz. Blue gets the Sandshrew line, the Vulpix line, the Meowth line, the Bellsprout line, Magmar, and Pinsir. The split is pretty even for the most part, as Ekans and Sandshrew are found pretty early on. Each side gets a Fire and Leaf Stone evolution line, a unique Safari Zone / Game Corner Pokemon, and Electabuzz and Magmar complement each other nicely. As for the gifts and trades, there are some really extremely weird quirks in Gen 1. First, we get the pseudo version exclusives, by which I mean you can technically get both, but either need a friend to get the others or to use cheats or glitches. There are 2 choices past the starter Pokemon, one for the fossils and one in Saffron City at the dojo. You can normally only get one of each, being a choice between the fossils for Ammonite and Kabuto, and Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee, thus being pseudo-version exclusives. The other really weird thing in this game is the in-game trades, some of them being good while others are bad. Every gen of Pokemon has some Pokemon that must evolve via trading. Gen 1 has 4, Machoke, Kadabra, Graveler, and Haunter. However, Gen 1 also has 4 Pokemon that can only be obtained in-game through trades. That's right, 4 whole Pokemon just can't be found anywhere in Red and Blue for some super strange reason. These Pokemon that can only be obtained through trading, and thus always have a nickname, are Mr. Mime, Farfetch'd, Jynx, and Lickitung. Mr. Mime and Jynx, being psychic types, are interesting, and Jynx also has the ice type, which is uncommon in this gen, and I'm pretty sure there are no pure ice types in this region. In fact, I don't think we get a pure ice type until Generation 3. Some of this was updated in the Japanese version of Blue, where Lickitung and Jynx could be found in the wild, and in Yellow, Lickitung could also be found in the wild. But we're not quite at Yellow. And of course, Mew, the 151st, can only be legitimately attained via events, although there are some glitches that we can use thanks to the code of Gen 1 being held together by duct tape and prayers. So, regarding the trades in Red and Blue, some are just absolute waste of time, while others are necessary for Pokédex completion. Red and Blue also only have 5 HMs, with 3 of them being mandatory for game completion. Newer players might not know or remember HMs, moves that were essential to progression, forcing you to have a Pokemon or several on your team that knew these moves in order to progress. Gen 1's HMs are Cut, Strength, Fly, Flash, and Surf. Cut is necessary in order to access Vermilion City's gym. and Celadon City's gym, as well as gain access to other routes and to get Fly. As a move, it kinda sucks, as it's very weak, so once you have gotten everything you need from it, you can safely deposit it. Flash is technically not necessary, as if you have the map of the rock tunnel memorized, you can count each step in the dungeon to navigate. However, as unlike in later gens, you can't see anything in here. So Flash is super convenient to have, even if its location is out of the way to obtain. Flash at least has a marginal use in battle, as it lowers the opponent's accuracy. Although stuff like that is weird here in Gen 1. Yeah, a lot of accuracy checks are tied to the speed stat, along with the critical hit rate, so Flash can make both of these things harder to happen in battle. Strength honestly bothers me a lot, as it feels like it should be a fighting type attack, but instead it's normal. It has some good power and okay-ish PP, but has no other effects, so even among normal attacks, it is outclassed. Hell, Body Slam is just better than Strength in every way. Slightly more power, same accuracy at 100%, same PP at 15, but also has a 30% chance of paralyzing the opponent. Strength is used to let the player push boulders in the overworld, letting us solve puzzles. Most of these puzzles are located in caves like the Seafoam Islands, and is necessary to get through Victory Road. As an ability, it's great. A lot gets opened up. I just wish it had a secondary effect in battle like flinching or giving an attack boost. Make sure to find the Warden's Teeth in the Safari Zone. Fly is the next HM. Fly isn't necessary at all. However, it's one of the best flying attacks in Generation 1 for its power, but it has the problem of being a 2-turn move and having non-perfect accuracy. Although this is offset as the Pokemon using it is immune to most attacks while using it. Though I believe that this can cause bugs in some circles, so in some circles the move is banned. The important thing of Fly is that it's a huge shortcut. Fly will let you fast travel from any outdoor area to any town or city, right in front of the Pokemon Center or wherever it is you get healed. This is a godsend, even if it means always keeping a flying type around. It may be optional, but you're going to want to use it. Finally, the last HM is Surf, an okay water type attack that a surprising amount of Pokemon can also learn. By surprising, I mean that besides the obvious water types learning it, Nidoking, Lickitung, Kangaskhan, Rhydon, and Snorlax can all learn this move as well, meaning it's not even necessary to have a water-type team member. Surf has 95 base power and is needed to let your player character cross water, be this rivers and ponds, the ocean, the bowels of the Seafoam Islands, or even on statues or back in the second gym. Funny how in Gen 1, 2 of the necessary HMs are gotten thanks to the Safari Zone. Other weird things of Gen 1 are that the fossils are obtained super early on, but they're not able to be revived until after Surf has been obtained, and even then, it's around the time of the 7th of the 8 gyms. Pokemon having the ability to dodge the Pokeballs you throw if the ball quality is too low, or if the Mon is too healthy. The Dragon type only had one attack that does fixed damage, so the Dragon weakness to itself didn't matter. Trapping moves like Bind and Fire Spin prevented the opponent from doing anything. Waking up from sleep costs a whole turn, and Charizard is not able to be taught Fly. Then comes Pokemon Yellow, setting the base for the third version of Pokemon games. Yellow is heavily based on the Pokemon anime, forcing a non-evolvable Pikachu on you basically at all times. Although this Pikachu also follows you and has the first implementation of the friendship stat. Yellow has some notable changes, like gyms having less Pokemon, generally lower levels, and seems to be like playing Gen 1 on easy mode. Yellow fixes some things like letting Charizard learn Fly, and even adds Lickitung to the wild. However, for version exclusives there's some weird stuff. Trades were changed for better and for worse, like there's an easy trade that gives you a Machoke that evolves into Machamp. Through the game, all 3 starter Pokemon can be gotten as gifts, letting you get Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur. But the version unavailable Mons are weird. The ones unavailable are the Weedle line, the Ekans line, Raichu, there are no wild Pikachu, the Meowth line, the Coughing line, Jinx, as the trade isn't even in this game, Electabuzz, and Magmar. Yeah, it's weird, but the fact that all 3 starters are here and basically free is a godsend for Dex completion. There's also a special minigame that can be played if you have a Pikachu with Surf, letting you play a Surfing Pikachu minigame. In the Virtual Console version, this minigame is set to always be playable. These games were re-released on the 3DS as Virtual Console games that included wireless and internet trading and battles. And across these, the only thing to do in the post-game is the new dungeon by Cerulean City, Cerulean Cave, that gives access to high-level Pokemon, and the only thing worth using your Master Ball on in this generation, Mewtwo. Finally, to wrap up this generation, there's the notable spin-off of Pokemon Stadium for the Nintendo 64. This game had killer graphics for the time, fixed some issues with moves not working properly, and had some really fun mini-games. The important thing about Stadium was using your own Pokemon to fight cooler 3D battles. And that Stadium had certain prize Pokemon as gifts. If you only had one version, Stadium could give you copies of the rare or one-time Pokemon to help you complete your Pokédex. The gift prizes in Stadium are Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Eevee, Ammonite, Kabuto, and a special Psyduck with Amnesia. As the starting point for Pokemon, this generation clearly has its rough patches, and some things that need to be fixed, especially with how things were clearly intended. It's also kinda annoying how one Pokemon is just never available in-game, and the legitimate ones were incredibly rare. But there's something magical about Kanto, which is probably why we keep revisiting it over the years. My preferred games here are Red and Yellow. On to Gen 2. Gen 2. Good old Johto. The trio of Gold, Silver, and Crystal. So much was added here. First off, all Pokemon now fall into 3 categories: male, female, and unsure. This is due to the inclusion of the beloved feature of Pokemon breeding. That's right. Chuck in a male and a female, and the Pokemon chosen will reproduce. Or just chuck in basically anything and a Ditto, who lives right by the daycare. Eggs are introduced, along with shiny Pokemon, Pokemon held items, weather in battle, the dark and steel types, berries, more balls, new evolution stones and evolution types, the full implementation of the friendship mechanic, day and night cycles, time and date based game events, the splitting of special into special attack and special defense, and of course, 100 brand new Pokemon. In addition to being able to communicate with Gen 2 games, these games could also communicate with the Gen 1 games, letting you transfer your buddies back and forth, letting you complete the Pokédex. This is even more helpful as certain Pokemon from Gen 1 will be holding rare items when transferred to Gen 2. And you can also transfer back hatched Pokemon from Gen 2 to Gen 1, letting you complete that dex more easily as well. And as a bonus, if the IVs of the Gen 1 Mon are correct, the Gen 1 Mon will become shiny upon transfer. Interconnectivity has always been important to Pokemon, and it's cool to see that making sure Gen 2 would connect with Gen 1. This is also important as the following Gen 1 Pokemon must be transferred over in order to have them in Generation 2. This is all 3 starter lines, the 2 choice fossil lines, the legendary bird trio, Mewtwo, and Mew. Also, Celebi wasn't available. Yet. While discussing this, let's look at the version exclusives between Gold and Silver. Gold gets the Mankey line, the Growlithe line, the Spinarak line, Gligar, the Teddiursa line, and Mantine. Silver gets the Vulpix line, the Meowth line, the Ladybug line, Delibird, Skarmory, and the Phanpy line. The split is pretty interesting. Once again, Vulpix and Growlithe are split, Meowth and Mankey are paired opposites. Each game gets new time-based bugs, with Spinarak being nighttime spawns and Ladybug being morning spawns. Oh, that's right, Gen 2 divides each day into morning, day, and night, providing different and altered spawns at different points through each day. It's weird seeing that each game gets a new cute Pokemon that evolves into a powerhouse with Teddiursa and Phanpy. And then each gen gets 2 new Pokemon with interesting types, Gligar being ground flying, Delibird being a non-legendary ice flying, Mantine with water flying joins Gyarados, and Skarmory with the crazy steel flying type. It's also funny as from Japan to English, Teddiursa and Phanpy were swapped. Gen 2 also introduced the idea of saving money, decorating your room with special items, and trainer rematches, with some trainers that you find giving you their contact info to hang out, swap items, and such. However, the level curve and access is extremely weird. There is some crazy contention between gyms 5, 6, and 7, as their levels don't make much sense. The flow of the game seems to lean towards certain routes, and it's just a weird situation overall. In Gen 1, it was mildly unclear if you're supposed to fight Koga and then Sabrina, or Sabrina then Koga, as their levels and mons are similar, but Sabrina is way harder due to her type. In Gen 2, Chuck, Jasmine, and Price are just weird. The trainer card and most guides put them in the stated order. By levels of their highest Pokemon, it goes Chuck, Price, Jasmine. Chuck only has 2 Pokemon at level 27 and 30. Jasmine has 3, 2 level 30s and a level 35, while Price has a level 27, level 29, and level 31. And one of them isn't even an Ice type! Jasmine basically must be fought after visiting Cianwood, and the way the routes flow, it feels like the order should be Price, Chuck, Jasmine. Although I've even seen some people argue that it goes Chuck, Price, Jasmine. So it's just weird. Stupid Johto in the level curve. Also, it makes more sense to fight Price first, as his badge lets us use one of the 2 new HMs. Gold and Silver have increased the number of HMs from 5 to 7, keeping all of the old ones. The 2 new ones are Whirlpool and Waterfall. Whirlpool is the water type equivalent to Fire Spin, trapping Pokemon, but also lets you cross whirlpools. The other new one is Waterfall, the attack that was originally the signature move of the Goldeen line. Waterfall will have a spot as being the final HM, usable only after the 8th gym badge has been earned, and is needed to get to Victory Road and the Pokemon League. Usually there's only 1 or 2 waterfalls in the games, making the HM kind of a waste. Also, Whirlpool is surprisingly weak. Johto also began the trend of having other moves be usable outside of battle, most notably with the ability to use Headbutt on trees to shake Pokemon out of them, although Rock Smash is included as well. Johto also has a problem with gym leaders not giving you the badge right away, which happens twice. Whitney is at least a new gym leader. She just lost her first match in a while, and it's a brief thing of building her character. Just give her a moment. Whereas Claire is inexcusably a bitch, forcing us to go retrieve something to prove ourselves in an entirely different area because she can't believe that we beat her and her crazy Kingdra. Funny how the 2 hardest Johto gyms have these issues, Whitney with her Miltank and Claire with her Kingdra. Even though Gen 2 adds in 3 new dragon attacks, Dragon Breath must be earned from Claire as a TM, meaning we either must use Outrage on the Dratini line or Twister on the Horsey or Dratini line or with Gyarados. And good luck getting something other than Twister from Gyarados. So, we briefly visit Kanto to go to the Pokemon League. For some reason, Victory Road in this gen is barren, only having some simple puzzles, wild Pokemon, and a rival fight. There aren't any other trainers. Weird. Upon beating the Elite Four, the first real post-game of Pokemon gets unlocked. That's right, the developers were able to fit almost the entirety of Kanto into this game. This is why the Johto routes continue the numbers from Kanto, where Kanto originally went up to Route 27, while Johto starts at 29. 28 is a new Kanto route leading to the final dungeon. Unfortunately, the Safari Zone didn't make it in. So, we can travel to Kanto, fight all 8 gyms in Kanto with some new twists, like the Gen 1 rival taking over the Viridian City gym. and then beat the Elite Four again to unlock Mount Silver, the game's final challenge. Upon making our way to the peak of the game's final dungeon, we can encounter the player character, Red, and the ultimate challenge. Red's team in this game is basically perfect, with the final forms of all the Kanto starters, a Snorlax, a powerful Pikachu, and an Espeon, being a perfect representation of Kanto and the potential for new evolutions. Gold and Silver also allowed you to catch the opposite game's legendary. In Gold, Ho-Oh got Sacred Fire and the unique held item Sacred Ash, while in Silver, Lugia got Aeroblast. But both were available in both games, something that's unique to Johto. Gen 2 was already pretty crazy, and then along came Crystal. Crystal was unique as it was the first game to introduce the option of selecting the player character's gender, which would become a series staple. Crystal had an event to give out Celebi, had updates to areas and dungeons, had a more story focus on Suicune, had animated sprites for battle entry, and the Battle Tower, the first use of a facility to continually do Pokemon battles. And like Yellow, there are some more changes. In addition to the same Gen 1 Pokemon not being available, Crystal loses access to the Vulpix line, the Mankey line, the new Mareep line, Girafarig, and the Remoraid line. Really weird decisions here. Almost as weird as the decision to lock several new Johto Pokemon to the postgame. Now that's right, in all three versions there are several new Pokemon that cannot be obtained until you get to Kanto or Mount Silver. This includes the Slugma line, the Houndour line, and Murkrow, which must be caught in Kanto, while Mount Silver holds Misdreavus and the Larvitar line. And originally, Sneasel was only available in Mount Silver, but Crystal fixed this and put it in the Ice Path. Tyrogue, and therefore Hitmontop, is also only available once Waterfall is usable, so good luck with that. It's just weird seeing that so many of the new Pokemon got put in Kanto. I guess it sort of makes sense to keep giving us players surprises, or see how the day-night cycles affect Kanto, something we hadn't seen before. It's also a bit of a pain that 5 new Pokemon require trading with rare items, being Scizor, Steelix, Kingdra, Politoed, and Slowking. And much like Gen 1, there are several issues in the code causing issues. Most of the new Pokeballs are bugged and work in ways contrary to what they say they do. Overall, there's so much that made Gen 2 feel exciting and fresh, and showed what care and love can do for the franchise. The surprise of seeing that pretty much all of Kanto was included makes for one of the coolest post-games in Pokemon. And Crystal on the Virtual Console includes the Celebi event permanently. As for the spin-offs, Pokemon Stadium 2 is really the only one of note. Much like Pokemon Stadium, this allowed for 3D Pokemon fights and for some prizes. Most of the prizes from this game are for Mystery Gift, offering items like Evolution Stones with a large focus on decorations for your room that Stadium 2 can render in glorious 3D. The only prize Pokemon are a Farfetch'd with Baton Pass and a Gligar with Earthquake. Now that's pretty much it. Gold and Crystal are my picks. So on to the next generation, Gen 3. Gen 3 is my first starter generation. I would play Pokemon without saving on Pokemon Emerald at a friend's, as I didn't own a Game Boy as a kid until after I got my first DS. Gen 3 is going to be a huge shift, as this generation is absolutely massive. First up, let's look at Ruby and Sapphire. To start things off, I have some bad news. Try as they might, there was no way for Game Boy and Game Boy Color games to easily connect to the new Game Boy Advance cartridges. This means that for physical cartridges, Gens 1 and 2 are stuck, with no really easy way to transfer forward through the generations. So, Ruby and Sapphire were basically soft resets for the series. Ruby and Sapphire did something different, with each game having a separate evil team. Team Magma in Ruby, and Team Aqua in Sapphire. The total amount of Pokemon was increased now to 386, although for the first part of this generation this wasn't exactly relevant, as tons of Pokemon weren't available in Hoenn, at least initially. Ruby and Sapphire still had models, moves, and Pokédex entries for the missing Mons in order to accommodate future games in the franchise. These games also had almost as many steps forward as they did back. Things that were added are things like the running shoes that let you move faster outdoors before getting a bike, Pokemon contests with each move having more data, new Pokeballs and items, an extensive overhaul to the berry system, Pokemon abilities and natures, double battles, and external weather conditions, with new weather of hail being added. A choice between a bike that can do tricks or a bike that has better speed, and a lot more focus on the evil team in each game, along with some e-reader functionality. Secret bases were also included through the use of a new move, Secret Power, that let you decorate hidden areas in the overworld, and if you mixed records you could find other people's bases as well. It just sucks that Secret Power is a TM only move, meaning you always have to keep the Mon that knows it and should never delete the move. As for cons, the games still have an internal clock that counts the passage of days and time, but there is no day-night cycle anymore, although Eevee will evolve appropriately in Hoenn. In-game events happen based on the passage of a quantity of days, no longer being tied to specific days of the week. The Hoenn games also have some puzzles based in Braille in order to acquire a new trio of legendaries, and there is a roaming legendary that can be very annoying to find as there is no in-game way to track it. There are also a lot more events in Gen 3 for rare Pokemon and legendaries that are unavailable now without hacking, cheats, or extreme glitches. There is also the infamous berry glitch, which requires another game to connect and fix, as this glitch basically prevents time-based events from occurring in-game, meaning berries won't grow, events won't happen, Shoal Cave will never have the tide change. You get the idea. The Safari Zone in this game is also hampered by the inclusion of Pokeblocks. More on that later. Let's take a look at the version exclusives. The box legendaries are now exclusive to their game. In Ruby, the exclusives are the Seedot line, Mawile, Zangoose, Solrock, and Groudon. In Sapphire, the exclusives are the Lotad line, Sableye, Seviper, Lunatone, and Kyogre. Once again, the games are complementary, so it's a pretty fair split. Hoenn has a whopping 8 HMs to use to navigate through. 6 of the HMs are returning in Cut, Fly, Flash, Strength, Surf, and Waterfall. Rock Smash, which used to be a TM, is now an HM and is required for a lot of the game, which is very annoying. And finally, a new and kinda underused HM, Dive, which is a 2-turn water attack like Dig or Fly that can be used to explore beneath water in certain routes. For as much water as there is in Hoenn, it feels like Dive should have been used a lot more. This is also the first time in the series where every gym badge is required in order to use an HM. The game is also weird when it comes to the rival. For the most part of the game, we follow May when playing as a guy, and Brendan when playing as a girl. And their final battle against us, they don't even have a fully evolved starter. And we don't get to fight them again after that point. Then, we get blindsided at the end of Victory Road by Wally, the kid who we helped catch a Pokemon, by an actually decent team. The rematch system for this is mostly the same as in Gen 2, with some trainers adding their contact info to us, but they won't call us for rematches. We have to manually check that. And the fact that the gym leaders are added as contacts but not viable for rematches is weird too. Finally, there's the addition of contests and Pokeblocks. Berries were greatly expanded upon, having more effects and flavors. A Pokemon's nature determines which of the 5 flavors of snack it likes best, and the main way to increase contest potential is by feeding Pokemon Pokeblocks. Pokeblocks are kind of annoying, as the mini-game must be played to make them, but the most annoying thing is that this mini-game cannot be done solo. You must either use the NPCs in the contest halls or connect with other players. So making Pokeblocks take a lot of time and is annoying, as the quality depends on the timing ability of the players, meaning that once you get some good practice, you will outperform the NPCs consistently. Better hope that you get lucky and constantly get the event for the Pokeblock Master, who uses rare berries and has impeccable timing. Pokeblocks must be used as bait in the Safari Zone, meaning the opposing Pokemon's nature determines the effectiveness of the bait. Pokeblocks are also required to evolve Feebas, as this Pokemon has the unique evolution that its beauty stat must be maxed out in order to evolve into Milotic. Meaning, if the super rare Feebas has the wrong nature and or you suck at making Pokeblocks, then you're never getting that Milotic. And contest can be a pain as well. Oh, I knew I was forgetting something. The Master Ball in Hoenn is found within the evil team's base. And if you beat the 7th gym, then the area gets blocked off. Meaning the goddamn Master Ball is a missable item in Hoenn. So, 3. The next item on the list is the spin-off game Pokemon Box Ruby and Sapphire for the GameCube. This special game was released as a way to help you store more Pokemon. There really isn't much more to do it than that, Although using it would let you play specifically the Hoenn games on the TV, there are some unique gift eggs you can receive when certain thresholds have been reached, being a Swablu with false swipe to start, with 100 Pokemon deposited, a Zigzagoon with extreme speed, 500 gets you a Skitty with Payday, and after 1499 Pokemon, a special Pichu with Surf. Then comes the next spin-off game, Pokémon Colosseum. Pokémon Colosseum, much like the Stadium games before it, allows for having 3D battles between Pokémon games. However, Colosseum is one of the absolute best Pokémon games ever. It has a story mode, focusing on being very edgy, and introduces the idea of shadow Pokemon, and has what trainers have wanted to do for ages: the ability to steal other trainers' Pokemon. Sure, you can only steal shadow Pokemon, but you still get to steal them. Also, the entire game is done via double battles. If there is any issue with Colosseum, there are at best two. One is that there are a limited number of fights, meaning choosing who you train is more important than ever. Second, the pool of Pokemon to choose from is fairly limited. For the most part, the Pokemon to pick from are Johto Pokemon, most of which weren't available in Hoenn, nor the games that will come out soon. Colosseum was also the only way to get Jirachi for the longest time in North America, thanks to the bonus disc. Although in Japan, they got Celebi, which makes a lot more sense due to the role of Celebi in the game. Yeah, Celebi wasn't available normally for years outside of Japan, and Mew was hardly ever released. And for some reason, Pokemon Channel only gave you Jirachi in Europe and Australia. Gen 3 also introduced several event Pokemon, being Deoxys, Jirachi, Lugia and Ho-Oh, and the opposite Latios or Latias with the special Soul Dew item. Event-only Pokemon will only get worse from here on out. Anyway, Colosseum was an amazing game, and it's great that so many people will get the chance to experience it when it gets added to NSO on the Switch too. Next up in Gen 3 are the first of many remakes we will cover, Fire Red and Leaf Green. These are remakes of Kanto, with a lot added to them, and modernized to be in line with the games up until now. Dark and Steel types exist, even though there isn't a single Dark type in the first 151. There is no clock, so even though Eevee can be obtained, it is impossible for it to evolve into Espeon or Umbreon. It must move to Hoenn to do so. New evolutions for the Kanto Pokemon are also locked until you get the National Dex. The HMs for Waterfall and Rock Smash are now included as well for use in the new areas. Berries have been added to random spots in the overworld, and a new multiplayer-only game of making berry powder has been added along with some other multiplayer minigames. Some soft locks have been removed, such as a key item now being needed to access Saffron City, and the running shoes have been added as well. The most major change is the addition of a new area, first visited after getting 7 badges, the Sevi Islands. These 7 islands add new areas and mechanics to Kanto, such as a new spot for Moltres, An additional daycare for Pokemon breeding, new areas to use Waterfall and Rock Smash, certain areas with Johto Pokemon, a new side quest to allow connectivity to Ruby and Sapphire and eventually another game, the National Dex, and more. The version exclusives have been updated as well. Fire Red gets the Ekans line, the Oddish line, the Psyduck line, the Growlithe line, the Shelder line, the Electabuzz line, the Scyther line, the Wooper line, Murkrow, Quillfish, Delibird, and Skarmory, while Leaf Green gets the Sandshrew line, the Vulpix line, the Bellsprout line, the Slowpoke line, the Staryu line, the Magmar line, Pinsir, the Marill line, Misdreavus, Sneasel, the Remoraid line, and Mantine. Deoxys was also first available in these games as well, and is a bit special. Deoxys has 4 forms: Normal, Attack, Defense, and Speed, and its form is dependent on the game Deoxys exists within. In Fire Red, it's in its attack form, and it's in defense form in Leaf Green, while in Ruby and Sapphire, it's normal. There is also an event island to catch Ho-Oh and Lugia, and after beating the Elite Four, there will be one of the legendary Johto dogs roaming, so make sure you save the Master Ball for them. The Elite Four also gets boosted thanks to the Johtomons, and will have higher level teams with new challenges. These games not only wanted to recapture the nostalgia for the first gen, but also give a way to fix some of the massive holes in the Pokédex due to the generational swap, and to this day are the only way to experience the Sevi Islands, as they are absent from every other version of Kanto. With that, there's only one more core game left in this gen: Pokemon Emerald. Emerald is basically the de facto best Hoenn game for this generation, due to how much it overhauled the story and gameplay from Ruby and Sapphire. For starters, both Team Magma and Team Aqua are here, providing a truly complete story. There are new areas to explore in the base game. Both box legendaries are here. The potential to unlock both Hoenn fossil Pokemon is included. Ditto has been added to Hoenn for easier breeding. Pokemon battle animations have returned. Obtaining the National Dex has been included as part of the story. New areas in the Safari Zone have been added that include Johto Pokemon. Gym leaders can now be rematched. And the best thing in Pokemon was added and is missing from several other games: the Battle Frontier. The event Pokemon Deoxys is here too, with the unique speed form, and Emerald marks the first time Mew could be caught in-game thanks to an event. Regarding version exclusives, the Pokemon that can't be found in Emerald are the Meditite line, Roselia, Zangoose, and Lunatone. Surskit can't be initially found, but is available through swarms. The Battle Frontier is what makes this game an absolute must for the generation, as it has 7 battle facilities to test your skills, from renting Pokemon to letting our own Pokemon choose how to battle. And if you complete the Hoenn Pokédex, you can get your choice of a Johto starter. The Battle Frontier consists of the following battle facilities. First is the Battle Tower, the generic battle facility. Basically, you just come here for streaks of single battles. Up next is the Battle Factory. The Battle Factory is a rental facility where instead of using your own Pokemon, you rent Pokemon to battle. And in between each match, you are allowed to take one of your opponent's Pokemon in order to swap it for one of your own. The Battle Dome is done as a single elimination tournament where you fight different trainers and have a full team preview of the opponents you could match up with and the matches to come. You have the Battle Arena where each battle between Pokemon only lasts for 3 turns. After which, if a Pokemon just has not been KO'd, then you are graded based on Mind, which is offense, Skill by the amount of damage inflicted, and Body by the amount, which is the amount of health you have remaining. The Battle Pike, a facility where you go through various rooms which have different effects based on RNG, truly testing your luck. The Battle Palace, where your Pokemon will battle based on their nature. You're not allowed to tell them what to do. And finally, the Battle Pyramid, a dungeon crawl simulator essentially, where you go through starting in pitch blackness, battling wild Pokemon and trainers, and picking up items that you can use in battle and to recover. The Battle Frontier, as it is in Emerald, hasn't been seen since, and is honestly a real shame. There is nothing like the Battle Frontier as it is in Emerald in any other game, and it's a real shame that the only game to have this is specifically Pokemon Emerald. Anyways, on to the final spin-off game of the generation, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. XD is a sequel to Pokemon Colosseum, once again focusing on Shadow Pokemon and double battles. The main changes this time around are the graphics, which really push the GameCube to its limits, and the changes to Shadow Pokemon. Purification has been simplified, and there are a greater variety of Shadow attacks. In fact, XD is the first game to have a physical special split based on the move rather than the type. Although, while in Colosseum most trainers also only had one Shadow Pokemon, maybe 2 at most, in XD, trainers will frequently have more than one Shadow Pokemon. You start off with an Eevee, and XD even has unique items that will let Eevee evolve into Umbreon or Espeon, depending on your pick, in addition to its regular trio. The Pokemon available are much more varied in levels, evolution phases, and more, with most of the Pokemon available being both parts of version-exclusive Pokemon or otherwise rare or hard to find Mons, and they will have special moves once they have been purified. The final boss even has 7 Pokemon, starting with the Shadow Lugia and a full team of 6 Shadow Pokemon that are rare and powerful. He even uses the trio of legendary birds from Kanto. Wild Pokemon have also been found in the region, with 3 spots containing 3 Pokemon each, which the rare spawn of each 3 places can be traded for some other Pokemon, letting you have even more options. There's also a special move tutor for Mew that will teach several special moves to it, and there's teasers for Gen 4 with the inclusion of Bonsly and Munchlax. And if you clear the 100 battles on Mount Battle, as a reward, you get a Johto starter Pokemon of your choice with the Elemental Hyper Beam. I just hope you're prepared for 300 battles to get them all. The game even offers a much better pool of second chance encounters for Shadow Pokemon you may have KO'd. Once again, it's super exciting to see XD get added to NSO, and that more people can experience this gem of a game. My picks for this gen are Ruby, Emerald, Leaf Green, and of course Coliseum and XD. This is where I'm going to stop the first part of the retrospective. Please stay tuned for the following parts where I discuss Gens 4 through 9 and a potential look of what I would like to see in the future of Pokemon going forward. Please like and subscribe, and remember, only losers don't like Pokemon.